Hello and welcome to this live stream. This is a special live stream because well, I tend to always say they're special, but in this case, it really is truly remarkable what's going on in France right now, in Europe. Because I spoke with some of my friends from France. So, me being a linguist, I study foreign languages, I speak Russian, I studied a bit of French for a while, I studied even Chinese, I studied Chinese. And I have friends from France, and they're saying that there's normally looting, there's normally violence in France, there's normally looting and racial tensions in France, but especially now, this whole Candace Owens lawsuit has like totally tipped it over the edge. So a lot of these black French supporters in France, they automatically support Candace Owens because she's also black, and they have gotten together and they've been attacking the French First Lady. They've been attacking the French president. They've been laughing at them, not only just ridiculing them, like not just mocking them, but they've also been looting stores in France, and they've been attacking the French president and his wife, throwing bananas at the French president's wife. The situation in France right now is getting scary. Like it already was scary to begin with. There already was a lot of racial tension. There already was looting to begin with. And now, like, so the French government, they might actually have to deploy the military. The French government might actually need to declare martial law and deploy the military because it's France has been run over by, racial tension and fighting and looting, and it's pretty scary. So we're keeping an eye on this because, if a war breaks out in Europe, especially starting from France, because keep in mind, the racial tension is not just in France, right? This has been going on all over Europe. Germany, Italy, Poland, Sweden, Switzerland, all of these countries have been getting severe racial tension. Europe is about to break out into a war. So this lawsuit with Candace Owens, it just basically tipped everyone over the edge. So let's go to comments because I see we're starting to get comments in. Gina Davis came in. Hello, Gina Davis. And I'm not sure what she said. Some abbreviation. GTFOH. Gina Davis came in and she said GTFOH. I'm not sure what that means. Anyways, welcome, Gina Davis. So, yeah, Europe was already on the verge of a war. And now, with this whole lawsuit with Candace Owens and the French president's wife being exposed as a man, this has totally sent France into a tailspin. And it's pretty scary because, like, yeah, if the French government, they might actually need to declare martial law, and the French government might need to deploy the military for this. So, and if there's a race war that erupts in Europe, like we're about to see World War III go on in Europe right now with this race war. Europe is going to have the biggest war they've ever had since World War II with the race war that's about to happen in Europe. Because we know that there have been incidents of racial attacks in Germany, in France, in Poland, in Sweden, in all of the European countries. They've been flooded with immigrants. It's not just the black Europeans. It's also the Muslim Europeans, as well as even the Spanish have allegedly invaded. So, according to French news sources, the racial tension has been the highest it's ever been seen in France and in Europe. Europe, generally speaking, but especially France, given especially what's going on right now with the lawsuit with Candace Owens, racial tension has been the highest. And France is on the verge of a race war, apparently. Very scary, really scary stuff. So we have to keep an eye on Europe right now because if Europe breaks out into a civil race war, whose side would even America take, really? I mean, if Europe breaks out into a race war and the United States might be called in to defend Europe in some way, whose side would America take in the race war in Europe? So this is a serious question that needs to be answered. So I'll wait for more people to come in and then keep talking. Okay, let's go to the comments. Johnny came in and said, lol, throwing bananas at her, is that true? And then Johnny also said, throwing bananas at him, sorry, it's not a woman, it's a man. Yeah, so both are true. Apparently, according to Candace Owens and her podcast, Bridget McCron is a man. So that apparently is true. According to her, if we're going by Candace Owens' podcast, if we're taking that as true, then Bridget McCron is a man. And there were several protesters in France who allegedly had thrown a banana at the Bridget Macron. I guess like some sort of making fun of her for being a man, right? So yeah, it's both are true. Who else came in? Tina Vegas. Tina Vegas came in and said, "Whoever Israel tells us to." I don't think Israel is part of a race war. I don't. I think if it's a war over money, I totally think Israel would be controlling the war over money, but not when it's a race war. Like when it's a race war, it's different. You know what I mean? Like I don't think Israel has any say over a race war. A race war is very different. Like the Civil War in America, when America had the Civil War, right, with the Confederates, that was a race war. Israel had nothing to do with that one. Although Israel does tend to start a lot of wars, I don't think Israel has anything to do with the race. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think Israel has anything to do with the race war. The war in Europe, especially over immigration, is real. Like Europe has been flooded with immigrants, Muslims, like all types of people, and the European Union has already declared a state of emergency over the immigrant crisis in Europe. So this is already, I mean, this might have been caused by Israel's policies because of Israel's policies. This could have been caused by that, but I'm telling you, the civil war over the immigration is real. Like, and I don't think Israel has any control over stopping or starting a civil war, a race war. I don't think Israel has any say over that, in my opinion. Because like Europe has already been flooded by immigrants. Like Europe, Germany's been complaining, France has been complaining, Poland, Sweden, they've all been complaining, all of Europe, over the immigration issue. And as well, you probably saw Australia. I recently saw an article that said Australia was complaining about the severe immigration problem and that, the Australians, they don't want all of these immigrants taking over Australia. So this immigration problem is serious, and it already was a problem in France. France was already had racial tension. France already had looting. France already had. So this is just tipping it over the edge. Like this Candace Owens lawsuit, this exposing the French president's wife as a man. This is really just tipping it over the edge. It was already about to pop. Like the racial tension in France, the race war between the black French and the white French, the Muslim French and the white French. This was already like tense. It was already a severe issue in France. And now this whole Candace Owens exposing the French president's wife as a man thing, this has totally tipped it over the edge. Especially now, a lot of these black French people, they're accusing the French government of being racist. I think they've always accused the French government of being racist, but now with this whole the fact that the French president is suing Candace Owens, this is just more fuel to the fire. This is just more proof that the French government is racist. And I think the black French people already kind of there were incidents already why the black French people accused the French government of being racist, but now, especially with the French government, the French president suing Candace Owens, like this is just giving the black French people all the ammunition they need, right? So a race war is about to erupt, pretty much. So let's go to comments. Um, Avetus came in and said, deport, deport, deport. Okay. Flexo came in. Flexo came in and said, how is there also 300 viewers and no chat? Bought it to hell. There is a chat. I'm chatting right now with everyone. Craig came in and said hi. Flexo again said, have you ever left your parents' house? Yes, I have. Tilly Loves Holland. Tilly Loves Holland came in and said, what are the names of your friends? Well, in YouTube, you're not supposed to give out people's names, and I'm not going to put my friends on blast. But thanks for asking. Um, Tom's Mesniks came in and said Baltic states not happy about immigration either. Or he just said Baltic states not happy about immigration. Yeah, I believe it. Flexo also came in again and said jump in 80 viewers but no comments at all. What are you talking about? I'm reading the comments right now. Why you keep saying there's no comments, Flexo? Flexo? What Flexo? Why do you keep that's his name. His name's the name of the commenter is Flexo. And he came in and he said jump in 80 viewers but no comments at all. There's comments. Anyways. Rabbit Whiter came in. Lots of I think but no here's facts. What do you mean? The French media, they don't give facts. The French government, they don't tell the truth. If the French president lied about his wife being a man, they don't tell the truth, the French government, the French media. Because if the French media told the truth and if the French president had been telling the truth from the beginning, he would have been like from the beginning as soon as he ran for president of France, he would have been like, by the way, my wife has a ding dong. So they're not no one's presenting facts. No, the French government has been lying about everything. They lied about the fact that the French president's wife is a man, that she has a ding dong, right? A banana twirler, a Twizzler, a sausage, a wiener, a I forgot other ways to describe Anyways, a schlong. So the French government has been lying this whole time. The French government and the French media, they're not giving facts. They're not giving anything. In fact, it would probably be better in the French government strategy if they really were planning to unleash the military, the French military on people. They probably wouldn't want to tell anyone about it. It would probably be and their better strategy to just in one night to just eliminate the threat, right? Eliminate the threat, eliminate the potential of a race war. Because if the white French people are really worried about their lives, if the white French people are really worried about a race war for real, you think it's going to be their best strategy to announce that they're going to unleash the military, then to give all the black French people notice? No. The French government, what they would do, they'd pretend like, oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Oh, no, France has no racial tension at all, right? And then one day, overnight, when everyone's sleeping, the French military goes out and does what the French military is going to do. And then the next thing you know, there's no more race war, no more threat of a race war. Because once France eliminates the threat of a race war, if you know what I mean. So, okay, let's go back to comments. James Davis came in and said, hey all, if a race war happens, all y'all invited to the cookout, plur, I got y'all all. The race war is going to happen in Europe, probably. I don't think a race war would happen in the United States. I'm not being sarcastic. I really don't think a race war would happen in the United States. I think the United States is over it. I think the United States is well past that point. I don't think the United States will have a race war again. So I think the United States is past that point, but I could be wrong because I'm from Canada. I'm not from the United States. So if there's any Americans who disagree with me and think that America is on the verge of a race war, please let me know. But from the people I talked to, they told me that there's no issue in America. Everyone gets along. But obviously, I have friends from certain states. I don't have friends in every state. I don't talk to every American in every state. So obviously, different states have different problems, have different issues. So if you're from a different state where there is a racial tension and there's potentially of a race war, then let me know in the comments. But my American friends told me that America is cool right now. Like there's no issues. Not like Europe. Europe is about to explode into a race war. So unfortunately. Um, who else came in? Rabbit Rider came in and again and said, neither do you. Rabbit Rider also said, no, you're not presenting facts. Rabbit Rider said, show the proof, ding dong. Okay. I don't have proof that the French president's wife's a man, but you could check out Candace Owens' podcast. I don't have pictures of the French president. I especially don't have pictures of a transgender person because I don't I don't date transgender people. Okay. Any person who wants to cut off their own, that's a person that I don't associate with, right? I don't associate people with people who would want to cut off their own thingy, right? That's crazy in my opinion. I mean, cutting off your own thing is crazy. So I would not associate with someone who wants to cut off his own thing. So I really haven't investigated. I don't investigate transgenders, honestly. I mean, my personal my personal research is, if I have to be honest, is the environment and Mother Earth and science and mathematics and astronomy. That's more my area of expertise and the Russian language. I speak fluent Russian. I studied the Russian language for years. Привет, как дела? Приятно познакомиться. Добро пожаловать на мой канал. Пожалуйста, подпишись на мой канал. Пожалуйста, спасибо за внимание. So I speak fluent Russian. And so Russian is my expertise, more or less, and science and mathematics. I really don't have an interest in, even though there definitely are very corrupt people out there in the world. Uh, I personally don't have an expertise on transgender stuff. I guess Candace Owens clearly, she is very interested in pursuing stories involving transgender people, but I really don't. So I don't do that, really that type of stuff. But this whole race war, so okay, I'm a big scientist, and you probably know in Switzerland, they have the Hadron Collider, which is like where they smash particles together. So the Hadron Collider is in Switzerland, and there's another place, it's an organization in Switzerland, it's called CERN. CERN is a big scientific research organization, and I am very interested in trying to maybe one day in the future, if I'm so lucky, to get a job in Switzerland. It's probably unlikely I'd get a job at CERN, not in a million years. You have to be like a really accredited scientist. You have to have like a PhD. You have to like know people. Like it's extremely hard to get a job at CERN. So I am hoping that one day in the future, I might be able to get a job in Switzerland making pizza or or mopping floors. But if I could just get any job in Switzerland, and if I could just be so much closer to CERN, which is this big, beautiful scientific organization, you know, and I could definitely qualify for a volunteer, not a volunteer, a tour. They give tours of CERN. So they do in CERN, they give tours. So I definitely could be good enough to go on a tour of CERN, I think. Or maybe you have to be like a VIP just to get a tour of CERN too. But anyways, so I actually would love to move to Europe, but I'm very concerned about the potential race war. And a lot of people tell me that France is no longer that beautiful Paris with the croissants and the beautiful French perfume and the French models. Apparently, France is totally different now. A lot of people tell me that France has been totally overtaken by immigrants and that France is an extremely dangerous country and that there's protests 24/7. So that beautiful France that we envision in our minds, that was from the past, that beautiful France is no longer there apparently. Like, I mean, I'm sure they still have croissants. I'm sure they still have French models, but like, apparently it's not like it used to be France. Apparently it's been overtaken by immigrants. It's a very dangerous place to live. because of the immigrants, because they have done many things to they've attacked. There's been terrorist attacks, and there have been. I have seen on the news. There were major protests in France. There were terrorist attacks. There were. So this is the true. This is true. Now this is for real reported. Like this was reported in the news. Like there have been terrorist attacks because you can't hide that, right? Like the French government, the French president, he might be able to hide the fact that his wife has a ding dong. Well, he was able to hide it for a bit for a while. He was able to hide that for a while that his wife had a ding dong. But the French president, they can't hide a terrorist attack. They can't hide the looting. They can't hide the gang violence. The French government, they can't hide that stuff. So they can only hide so much, the French government, right? So that's why, we're seeing a lot of this stuff break out, and it could be a major war in France. Okay, let's go back to the comments. Jay came in and said Jesus saves. Okay. Jay said get saved, everyone. Okay. Benjamin Franz Blau came in and said join the real world, get a job. I have a job. This is I just YouTube on the side for fun, for part time. I just do this part time. But maybe you want to tell Candace Owens to get a job because apparently she's a full time YouTuber. So I'm not a full time YouTuber. I just do this part time on the side. I have a job, so I just do this on the side for fun. But if you want to tell Candace Owens to get a job, I mean she. And if you want to tell the guys at the bottom picture to get a job, who else came in? Janelle Cottrell came in and said, interesting how you completely skipped my comment. Bridget Macron is not a man. She's 20 years older than him and has given birth. She was his teacher and married when they met. So first off, Janelle Cottrell, I didn't skip your comment. So you're saying there must have been an earlier comment you made. I don't skip comments unless it was an accident. But I don't always, by the way, if there's like 2,000 comments, I don't read every comment. I'm only reading every comment right now because there's very little comments, but I'm not gonna sit here and read 2,000 comments. So sometimes my live streams get like 2,000, 5,000 comments. I don't have the time to read every comment. So I try to read as many comments as I can, but I'm not gonna read all the comments. I'd be here forever if it was 2,000 comments. So this was the first comment. I just scrolled up and there's not that many comments. And the only comment you made was this one where you say, that interesting how you completely skipped my comment. I didn't skip your comment. This is the only comment you made and so anyway, so the only comment that I see that you made, okay, unless YouTube removed one of your other comments, I don't know, but the only comment that I see that you made is you said, interesting how you completely skipped my comment. Bridget Macron is not a man. She's 20 plus years older than him and has given birth. She was his teacher and married when they met. Well, you're coming up the wrong person with that. You mean you should be complaining to Candace Owens. I mean, she's the one who is presenting this as fact. I mean, she is doubling down on this. Candace Owens has completely doubled down on this. Not only is she being sued, but she's going full force saying, no, this is fact. Okay, so Candace Owens is the one you need to address this issue with. I didn't do an expose on the French president's wife. Okay, I didn't do an expose on the French president. Candace Owens is the one presenting this as fact. So if you really have an issue with that, you need to take this up with Candace Owens. Like, you're welcome to discuss it here. We can discuss it and you can tell the truth here. I mean, I don't know if you could really discuss it in Candace Owens live. She'd probably throw you out because that's what they do in Candace Owens live. If you go into Candace Owens' network, Place of People, and you disagree with Candace Owens and her thuggy followers, they will call you racist. They'll throw you out of the Candace Owens live. So, I mean, I can understand why you're coming to my live because, if you go to Candace Owens live and you try to, tell them, no, Bridget Macron is a woman. If you try to argue with Candace Owens, she might call you racist. She might throw you out of her live. So, but I'm just telling you that I'm not the one presenting the whole, French president's wife as a man thing. I didn't come up with that. I didn't do, I'm just reading what everyone's saying, right? So I really don't know for sure. But Candace Owens, she's very convincing. I would have to say, I kind of believe it. I kind of believe it. Because Candace Owens is very convincing. She's very persuasive. Candace Owens. So I'm kind of tending to believe that the French president's wife's a man. Uh, so unfortunately, and I know this sounds awful, a little not doesn't sound awful. I mean, it depends. I mean, but France is so liberal and free, right? France is, especially Germany, like Germany with the beaches in Germany where the guys, they just let everything hang out. Well, the solution to this problem, you might see where I'm going with this. The solution to this problem to prove whether or not the French president's wife's a man or not is no, no, I'm not saying for them to go to a beach, one of those beaches in Germany, but the French president's wife and the French president, maybe they could make like a video, like an amateur video to I'm just joking, sort of. Anyways, yeah, I'm joking, I think. I'm joking. But no, I'm serious. There has to be some way for the French president and the wife to clear up this mess, to prove that the French president's wife is a man or a woman, either way, whatever is the case. There has to be some other way. But of course, if they don't want to do that way, if they don't want to take a blood test, if they don't want to go that route, there's always the amateur video way. I mean, lots of people do it. I mean, it's famous. I mean, people are making money doing it. People are making money doing those videos. So, anyways, what just happened? That's so bizarre. Hold on a sec. Technical difficulties. Wow, that was scary. I've been hacked before, but I've never seen the hackers hack my tablet. They usually try to go for my phone because I'm recording the live stream with my phone. I've never seen them go for my tablet before where I'm like showing the image. That is scary, man. They completely removed, like they just totally hacked my tablet. Who's doing it? I don't even know who's hacking me. Is it the French people? Is it the black people? Is it the Americans? Is it the Russians? Is it the North Koreans again? Who's hacking me? I don't even know. Anyways, the North Koreans love me. It wouldn't have been the North Koreans. The North Koreans adore me. Anyways, let's go back to comments. Um, okay, let's go to comments. Let's move up a bit because there's been a lot of comments since that happened. Okay, there's a lot of comments. So let's just start off with Lucifer. That sounds funny. He said something about CERN. That's why I want to start with Lucifer. Actually, normal person. Let's go to normal person and then Lucifer, because normal person was first. Oh no, let's go to Mr. R first, because Mr. R said something interesting. Okay. So Mr. R came in and he said, why do men sound like this in 2025? First off, let me explain something. I've always been self-conscious about my voice. I've always wanted a deeper voice. I try like whenever I try to have a deeper voice, it just sounds weird. Like, hello, like like I don't know how to make my voice sound deeper. I want a deeper voice. I don't. Anyways, and then the second reason I maybe talk like this is because I work in a job where I have to speak 24/7. It's not YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber. I do something else. I work in communications. I do something else. I work with languages, foreign languages, communications. I work in a bookstore, etc. I do all types of jobs where I have to speak 24/7. So when you speak constantly, your voice becomes more, you know what I mean? When you speak more, so that's another reason. And then the third reason is, this is just the way my voice is. I don't know how to explain it. I wish I had a deeper voice. I really wish I had a more deeper masculine sounding voice. I always wanted one, but I just don't know how to make my voice sound deeper. So let's first, now that I explained that, let's go to normal person. Normal person is their name. Their name is normal person. The commenter's name is normal person. So um Normal person came in and said, yo, turn on your cam. I think normal person might have been the one who hacked me. So, because he made this comment before suddenly my tablet got, something happened on my tablet. So, oh, Lucifer came in and said, oh, Lucifer Le Lacusta. I'm not sure if I said your name right. Sorry if I didn't say your name right. I'm not sure how to say your name. Came in and said, who cares? Then Lucifer came in and said, be concerned. Then Lucifer said, CERN is against God. CERN, I mean, I can't speak for everyone who works at CERN because it's a big organization. There's definitely atheists that work there. I'm not going to deny that there's probably atheists that work at CERN, but to say that the whole organization is against God, I don't, I mean, I really don't know for sure. I can't say that either way. I really can't say either way. I mean, you could be right. I mean, maybe, but I can't see like a whole organization having the same agenda to be against God. It's possible though. I mean, you could be right. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I wish I worked for CERN. If I worked for CERN, I would know whether their mission or not is to be against God. I really don't know. But my mission is just to be for science. I'm not against God. I'm not pro God. I'm not against God. I am for science. So I'm for science and mathematics. Science and mathematics has made our lives better, better technology. We live longer. We live healthier. There's, we're using technology right now, right? We're using phones and trains and planes. So anyone who's against technology, if you're really against science and technology, why do you get on planes? Why do you get on trains? Why do you use phones? Why do you watch television if you're really against science and technology? Science and technology brought us all of these things. Okay? God did not bring us planes. God did not bring us television. This was all man-made, invented stuff. Scientists and mathematicians brought us planes, trains, televisions. Okay, scientists and mathematicians brought us all these things. Okay, but that being said, I'm open-minded to everything. I'm open-minded to God. I'm open-minded to science and mathematics. Okay, if you're truly a learner, if you're truly a person who wants to learn, you need to be open-minded sometimes. So, anyways. Okay, let's go back to the comments. Then James Davis came in and said, Flexo, he's a scientist and mathematician. Music and math are a universal language that has no racial or sexual boundaries. Okay. Thank you for your comment. Polo, the Spill Don, came in and said, he said, I know exactly. He said Dixie. And then he said something else. He has a funny name. He has one of those funny names, right? I know I'm not gonna say the last part of your name because I know it's a joke. So so he said Dixie, and then starts with an N. Dix, not the N that you, not the N word. Sorry, it's a different N word. He's Dixie, but like then an N. Okay, Normus. He said Normus. Okay, the N word. I didn't say it together. I didn't say Dixie and then Armo. I almost did for a sec there. I almost said Dixie and then the last, but no, I separated it with a comma, with a space, not a comma. Like I just took a breath and I separated it. So Normus, for last name Normus, first name Dixie. His name is last name Normus and first name Dixie. That's his name. Okay, so. But I didn't say I didn't catch I didn't fall for the joke and I didn't say the full together. James Davis also said, well, go to Switzerland then, I've in France. It's not that easy to go to Switzerland, James Davis. It's really not. I mean, like I said, just to get a job in Switzerland, just to do anything, even to mop floors. Okay, that came out wrong. I love mopping floors. In fact, I want to be a janitor. That's like my lifelong goal is to be a janitor. And I've always dreamed of mopping floors. So if I could be so lucky as to get a job to mop floors in Switzerland, I would be so happy because I'm one of those clean person. No, for real, actually. I'm one of those cleanly people, those clean people that loves to clean. I love cleaning. It makes me feel better to clean, feels to be organized and to clean. I love cleaning. I actually would really like a job to be mopping floors, to be honest, because I love cleaning. So it would be perfect for me. But that's not what I do right now. Right now I work in a bookstore. So either I could work in a bookstore in Switzerland or I'll do anything almost just to be close to CERN, that wonderful organization of scientists and mathematicians. I grew up in Canada, a country of idiots. I grew up in Canada. I grew up in a really religious area where they're all idiots. Well, not all religious people are idiots, but like the religion that I came, anyways, there's different religions. So don't assume I'm talking about Catholics. Don't assume I'm talking about Irish Catholics. Don't assume I'm talking about Christians. There's a lot of religions I could be talking about. Anyways, so let's go back to the comments. Dan said, "There's no way I would move to Europe, who is actively giving away their continent to Islam." Yeah, that's a major issue in Europe right now. So there's a lot of comments. So I'm just gonna actually, I just want to see, is people still with me? Are people still here? Because after my whole, after the tablet went wire, I had to like almost like do a reset. And I'm not even sure if people still are stayed in here. So are people still in this live stream? Yeah, there must be because there's been new comments since my tablet got hacked. Yeah, so people are still here. Yeah, so someone came in and said more recent comments. Uh, Donald Kinsella came in and said, "Put hand on stomach below belly button and press in as you speak deeper. Voice will happen." Oh, good to know. Good to know. Okay. Put hand on stomach below belly button and press in as you speak deeper. Voice will happen. I definitely feel something, but I'll try your technique later because I don't want I might not be doing it right, but I'm definitely I'll try your technique for later. Key Wicks came in and said French intelligence. Why would the French intelligence hack me? I don't understand. I'm not saying anything bad about them. Well, Candace Owens is the one saying everything bad about the French intelligence. I mean, if French intelligence wanted to hack someone, wouldn't they want to hack Candace Owens? I mean, that seems more like a logical place to start. I mean, she's the one basically spilling the beans on the whole French government. So I'm not doing it. I mean, I'm just the commentator like everyone else. I'm just reacting to the news that the French president's wife has a ding dong. Like, ding dong, hello, everybody get along, ding dong. I personally, I don't like ding dongs on women. I mean, I don't really go for women, and I don't go for women that have ding dongs. That's just not my cup of tea. I like British guys. Like James Bond 007, like James Bond 007, like British intelligence. I'd probably be more like into British intelligence. I'm not into French intelligence because in France, like they got men with ding dongs, or women with ding dongs in France. They don't shave their armpits in France. Like France, they're into freaky stuff in France. So I'm not into France. I'm more into like British guys because like they're trim and proper British guys. They're like they got jobs and they know how to wear pants. They're not like thugs who don't know how to wear pants, right? British guys, they have jobs and they wear briefcases and they have suits and they smell nice and they take showers. Those are British guys. Usually British guys. I'm not talking about certain parts of Britain where the guys are more like ghetto, if you know what I mean. But typically, anyway, stereotypical British guys. I'm into stereotypical. Like James Bond 007, like a man with a job who serves his country, who serves the Queen, even though she's dead now. I don't know how, so he doesn't really serve the Queen anymore, really, right? Because she's dead. So yeah, this James Bond 007, I guess they're gonna have to address that really. In the next James Bond 007 movie, they should like make reference to the fact the Queen's dead because who does he serve now, right? Well, he always serves the British government, right? It's the British government he serves. He never, but I remember in other James Bond movies where he talked about serving the Queen, right? But he doesn't. Anyway, she's dead. She's gone. The Queen's out of there. So, anyways, let's move on to comments. Um, Scotty Fox came in and said, "You have a good voice, don't trip." No, I don't have a good voice. Adam James came in and said the opening ceremony was telling. Samantha Nelson came in and said, why would God give us free will yet keep us from the tree of knowledge? The tree of knowledge is science textbooks, mathematics textbooks. Um, if you want to learn how a plane operates, do you want to learn how planes fly? Then you go to a university, a science university. You don't go to church. The priest, the all-knowing priest, doesn't know how planes operate. So if you want to learn how do planes fly, if you want to learn about electricity, how electricity works, you go to a university. That's where you get your tree of knowledge, is a science university. The priest doesn't know how planes work. The priest, usually, typically, not every priest, there's probably some priests that are actually secret scientists. Well, there's a lot of priests that are secret scientists. I know if you know what I mean, but no, I don't mean in the fact that no, okay. There's two stereotypes about priests. I'm not talking about the other stereotype, but there are also priests that do that stuff too. That's gross. I don't agree. That's gross. I don't like those priests. Anyways, I don't like the priests that drink the blood of Christ. That's gross. And eating the body. You know when you go to Catholic church and they say, now this is the body of Christ, this is the blood of Christ. Ooh, who wants to drink the blood of Christ? That's gross. Like, are you cannibals? And then they're like, oh, and then this is the body of Christ. And they have a piece of bread. They hold up a piece of bread in Catholic church. In Catholic church, they hold up a piece of bread and they say, this is the body of Christ. And they eat a piece of bread like if it's the body of Christ. Are you cannibals? What? And then they hold up a chalice of wine and then they say, this is the blood of Christ. Then they drink the blood of Christ. What? Are you cannibals? That's gross. Ugh. So no, I don't agree with the priests that do that kind of stuff. Who drink a glass of wine and then say it's the blood of Christ, who eat a piece of bread and say it's the body of Christ. Are you cannibals? What? Oh, no. But there are also priests. Anyways, most priests are ignorant. Most priests don't know science. Most priests don't know how a plane works. Most priests don't know how electricity works. Most priests can't explain how to do a self-sustaining nuclear reaction. Most priests can't balance an equation. So most priests can't even do simple algebra. Most priests don't know basic math and science, is what I'm saying. Anyways, let's go back to comments. I have a feeling I'm gonna get a lot of negative comments for that. Um, Frank Vorman came in and said, ha ha ha. Some other comments, I can't read them because there's YouTube will ban me if I read certain comments. The came in and said, Owens is nuts and no one is doing anything with bananas here. You mean in America, but in France, apparently they're throwing bananas at the French president's wife. I did say that even though I don't know for sure, and like I said, we're not going to know for sure, we're not going to be 100% positive unless the French president decides to upload an amateur video. Unless the French president decides to upload, in France, they claim to be so liberal and free. Not well, but hey, the German president would probably do it. If the German president wanted to prove that, you know what I mean. If the German president wanted to prove something, he'd probably upload an amateur video. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the president of Germany, they're so freaky now in Germany. Germany's very different. And did you see that Conan? I'm basing this off of a comedy sketch. So no, it's true though. I did have talked to a lot of Germans, and they did tell me they have lots of beaches. You know those type of beaches in Germany, and they let it all hang out in Germany. They're really free and open in Germany. So and then there was also a Conan O'Brien did a comedy sketch where he went to Germany, and sure enough, he was walking around with like naked German guys, because they apparently that's their culture. Apparently, it's the culture of Germany. They just walk around and let it all hang out in Germany. So in Germany, If you want to know who's a real man and who's a woman, you go to a German beach. They all let it hang out in German beaches in Germany. So, I mean, would it be that far-fetched to say that if the French president, just as it's a possible solution, it's an option. I'm not saying he needs to do it. I'm just saying it's an option. It's an option. If the French president wanted to prove that him and his wife are whatever they say they are, I mean, if they did upload an amateur video, an amateur video is like they're stars these days. Those people are like making money. Those amateur video people, they're making so much money. They're getting paid. They are getting famous. So, anyways, I'm just saying it's an option. So, anyways, or they could just go to one of those German beaches, and then we'll all know for sure, right? If the French president and his wife goes to one of those German beaches where the guys just walk around letting it all hang out, then we'll know for sure if the French president and his wife are whatever they say they are, right? So, how can France claim to be so liberal and free in certain ways, but then they're like, they don't want to go to a German beach, right? And just, anyways, to be honest though, I really don't want to see the French president's wife, especially if she has a ding dong. That's weird. That's kind of creepy. I don't want to see that. I want to see the French president, but also if it's really true that he married a wife with a ding dong, I kind of think less of the French president. Now, if he married a real woman, if he's a real straight guy, if the French president is a real straight guy, like a real masculine straight guy, if the French president is a real masculine straight guy, I'd love to see him go to a German beach, right? But if it turns out that when they do go to a German beach, the French president's wife has a ding dong, I'm gonna throw up. Because I'm sick, because I have a cold, I have the flu. I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up because I have the flu, not because the French president's wife has a ding dong. Okay, don't accuse me of being he's gonna throw up because the French president's wife has a ding dong. No, I might throw up because I have the flu, and also because the French president's anyways. So the French president Emmanuel Macron, if he wants to go to a German beach where they let it all hang out, walk around at a German beach, finally we'll know once and for well, I think we already know he's a man, right? And if the French president's wife, if she wants to prove that she is a real woman, and especially a French woman, I mean, you know, how in 2025 is Germany more free than France? Does that make sense to you? Unless we learned history wrong, or maybe history was right, maybe Germany changed, I don't know. But would they be doing this? Would they have beaches like that in World War II Germany? Would they have like German beaches where the guys just walk around letting it all hang out? Would they have that kind of stuff in World War II Germany? Like, see, so much of our history, they lied to us about so much of our history, right? So, but the bottom line is if we want to know for sure if the French president and the wife, whatever they are, go to a German beach where they just let it all hang out, and then we'll know, right? I'm not saying we need to have pictures of them, although that would confirm to the world. Anyways, listen, they were offered the chance to do a blood test, right? Didn't Candace Owens say that the French president and the wife were offered the opportunity to do a blood test and they refused? So if they don't want to do a blood test and they still want to prove that they're a real man and a real woman, they can go to a German beach. That's all I'm saying. Anyways. But yeah, that's interesting, eh? How is Germany in 2025 more free than France? Anyways. Okay, let's go back to the comments because I have a feeling I talked about the German beaches too much. So I'm not gonna read offensive comments. Actually, no. They're funnier. Let's read the offensive comments about myself. So someone came in and said you sound deranged. Okay. Someone came in and said if you are not part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. Elridge Cleaver, Covalent Rights and Black Panther Party leader. Okay then. Someone came in and said, "You are extremely naive." I am, because I believed for all this time that the French president and the French president's wife was just a normal couple, right? I didn't know that the French president's wife had a ding dong. I didn't know that. And now I might have just maybe I'm just as naive because I'm watching the Candace Owens podcast. I'm watching all the Candace Owens videos, and she's very convincing. Candace Owens is very persuasive. She's very convincing. In fact, for so long, I thought that MJ, Michael Jackson, I thought that he was a weirdo for like what he was doing with the sleepovers, right? But then Candace Owens came out and she did those videos where she was saying how Michael Jackson was suing Tommy Mottola and Michael Jackson apparently was suing Sony. And because of the Sony lawsuits, they went after Michael Jackson. So Candace Owens is very convincing. Like, I mean, if Candace Owens ran for president, I'd probably vote for her because she's very convincing. Either she's telling the truth or she's a very good liar. Either way, I believe her. I believe Candace Owens. So hopefully she's telling the truth and she's not a very good liar. So someone came in and said, Ivica, oh, I like Ivica Jaranovic's comment. She said, "Pants down and let the world see what you are." Can we clap? Can we raise a? Can we clap for Ivica Jaranovic? Can we clap for that comment? That's a great comment. I'm gonna pin your comment. I'm gonna pin your comment. I mean, that's what they do at German beaches. Okay, I gotta stop talking about German beaches. But anyways, the German men, they just walk around at German beaches and just let it all hang out. That's what they do in Germany. So, who else came in? Ray's New Life came in and said she does her research. Candace Owens does her research. She does her research, but Candace Owens definitely is not researching. She definitely picks and chooses what she researches. I mean, she could be researching the next big deadly volcano to erupt. Candace Owens could be researching why there's so much pollution still in the ocean. Like, why is the ocean so polluted? When is the next big volcano going to erupt? Which cities are most vulnerable to the next tornado? Okay, Candace Owens could be researching why people are going missing in America constantly. Why people in America are constantly going missing. There's so much other stuff Candace Owens could be researching, but instead she's choosing to spend her energy on France, the French people, and Candace Owens is choosing to spend her energy on whether or not the French president's wife has a ding dong. So I'm not saying she doesn't do her research. She does her research, but she definitely picks and chooses what she researches. Also, I was beat up by a bunch of thugs when I was in Detroit. When I was in Detroit as a Canadian tourist, a bunch of thugs beat me and stole my money. And, Candace Owens doesn't care about the thugs that beat me and stole my money. They put a gun to my head and they robbed me and they called me Cracker. They called me White Cracker, the thugs in Detroit. They put a gun to my head. They robbed me. They stole my money. And then they told me to go back to Canada. And I was crying. And they called me weak gay Canadian. They called me weak Canadian and etc. They put a gun to my head and they robbed me. And they stole my Canadian tourist money. And they laughed at me. And when I called the police, when I called the Detroit, sorry, I almost said, when I called the Detroit police for help, I didn't say it. I didn't say the other word. I said, but look, when I called the Detroit police for help, they also laughed at me. And when they actually came to file the report, they beat me and robbed me again. They tasered me too. And then they called and they're like, "Oh, what you doing in the United States? What you doing in the United States? Go back to Canada. Go back to Canada." I'm like, "You're right. I will never ever ever spend my Canadian tourist money in the United States. I won't go to Florida. I won't go to Miami. I will never ever spend my Canadian tourist money in the United States when Canadians go to the United States and they're robbed, they're beaten by a bunch of thugs." And that's what happened to me when I went to the United States. The thugs, they beat me, they robbed me, they stole my Canadian tourist money, and then they laughed at me when I was crying. And I went back to Canada, and Candace Owens doesn't care about that. Candace Owens doesn't care that a bunch of thugs from Detroit beat me and robbed me and stole my money. And then when I called the police, the Detroit police for help, they laughed at me too. And they made it even worse. And they took the side of their brothers and sisters. So Candace Owens didn't care about that. So Candace Owens, she does her research, but she likes to pick and choose what she decides to talk about. So I guess once we find out for sure whether or not the French president's wife has a ding dong or not, this will solve world hunger. This will find the cure for cancer. We'll finally know when the next volcano is gonna erupt. I have a feeling it's in Japan. Anyways, I'm not. Well, I am sort of a psychic. Well, I did. Okay, I had some psychic dreams. I'm a bit of a psychic, and I had some dreams about a volcano in Japan erupting soon. So, anyways, but I don't really believe too much in that psychic stuff. But sometimes I have like weird, interesting dreams. Anyways, so Candace Owens, she does her research, but she likes to pick and choose what she researches, especially since Mr. Donald Trump, who's the king of the Epstein list, weren't they supposed to release the Epstein list? Candace Owens, she seems to be going full force on the French people, but she seems to be going easy on Donald Trump for not releasing the Epstein list. When we asked Candace Owens about the Epstein list, she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, Trump should have released the Epstein list." She agrees. She definitely agrees. Like Candace Owens, she agrees. Like if you ask her about, "Hey, why hasn't Trump released the Epstein list?" Candace Owens agrees, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Trump should have released the Epstein list." But she's not really like as passionate about it. But then if you ask her about French people, French people, French people, French people, Candace Owens presents a 20 video series. Anyways, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Candace Owens, like she's full force on the French people. So I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, if you're a person that really cares about people's lives, if you're a person that really cares about innocent people's lives, I mean, right now, there's such a thing called priority issues. Priority issues are clean drinking water for everyone, food, enough food for everyone, keeping people safe from volcanoes, keeping people safe from tornadoes and hurricanes, people keeping people safe from Donald Trump, who might accidentally stumble into your dressing room, or Joe Biden. Heck, all the American politicians. I wouldn't want to be in a dressing room with any of the American politicians. Bill Clinton, especially Bill Clinton. I would not want to be in a dressing room with Bill Clinton. I would not want to be in a dressing room with Donald Trump. I would not want to be in a dressing room with Joe Biden. And I especially would not want to be in a dressing room with Kamala because I am a gay man and I don't like women. And I don't want to be in a dressing room with Kamala Harris. So I would not especially want to be in a dressing room with Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, who's a fossil, or or Donald Trump, who can make me disappear, or Bill Clinton, who touches everything that moves, or George Bush, who will invade me for oil. I will not. He'll invade Canada for oil. Obviously, if the Americans ever found out that we Canadians had oil, or have oil, or did have oil, or currently have oil, or protect, anyways, we don't have oil. Listen, Americans, Canada, we don't have oil. You don't need to invade us. Because Canadians, we don't have like this secret stash of oil. Okay, so Americans, you don't need to invade Canada. We don't have some secrets. If we would totally tell you, Americans, if Canada suddenly stumbled upon this secret stash of oil, we would tell Americans. We would. We really would. Probably. Anyways, so I wouldn't want to be in a dressing room with any of the presidents. But what I'm saying is there's such a thing called priority issues. Priority issues are clean drinking water, keeping the environment clean, keeping the oceans clean from pollution, volcanoes about to explode, and those are priority issues. Now, don't get me wrong, the French president's wife being a man and having a ding dong, that kind of is, I kind of want to know. I do want to know that too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say that I don't want to know about that as well. I want to know about everything. Okay, I'm a curious person and I want to know about everything. And if there was so much time in the world, if we had unlimited time, then I wish we could know everything, really. So I do want to know that as well. But there are such a thing as priority issues. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Sometimes you have to take priority over other things. And especially when there's a volcano about to explode in Japan. Possibly, according to my dream. But, a lot of my dreams are false. One time I had a dream that I was like meeting James Bond 007. When would I ever meet the British intelligence? In what world, in what capacity would I ever be in the same room as an MI6 agent? So no, obviously not all dreams are true. A lot of dreams are false. A lot of dreams are weird. And so just because I had a dream about a volcano in Japan exploding doesn't mean that it had anything to do with reality. It was just a dream. Like, it was just a dream. Anyways, I have dreams too. Martin Luther has dreams and I have dreams. Martin Luther, Martin Luther, his dream was, that, he didn't like the fact that black people were poor, and he wanted one day, he said, right now, black people are poor and white people are rich. And Martin Luther King's dream, his dream was this. His dream was that one day white people would be poor and black people would be rich. That was Martin Luther's dream, and it came true. Look at all those rappers. Look at all those rappers who be throwing money. They're all doing it because of Martin Luther's dream. His dream came true. Martin Luther's dream came true. White people are poor now and black people are rich. Did you see all those rappers? You see all those rappers throwing out the money, being like, yo, 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 make it rain. I got all the money. I got all the money. That was Martin Luther's dream. His dream came true. Martin Luther's I Have a Dream speech came true. Because you see the black rappers, they're just throwing out money. They're just throwing out money like an ATM, making it rain, making it rain. So you can see that Martin Luther's I Have a Dream speech, it came true. You know, now instead of white people being rich and black people being poor, now white people are poor and black people are rich. And all the rappers in America, they just be throwing out money like an ATM and saying, yo, this was Martin Luther's dream. It was his dream for all us black rappers to be rich and and the crackers to be poor. Anyways, I love crackers. I love salty crackers. I love those Triscuit crackers. And I love Ritz crackers. Have you ever had Ritz crackers with the cheese? Oh, I love. Okay, one time I went to this party where they have hors d'oeuvres. Like those fancy parties with hors d'oeuvres. Anyways, it wasn't that fancy because I got in. If I get in somewhere, it's not that fancy. Anyways, I went into like the semi-fancy party. They were trying to be fancy, and then I came, and they had like these hors d'oeuvres with like the cheese and stuff. And then I'm like, hey, do you guys have any vegan stuff? And then they kicked me out of the party. No, no, that's a joke. That never happened. But seriously, I'm not vegan. I'm vegetarian. But have you ever noticed how vegans are so like rude? Like if you're trying to convince meat eaters to eat less meat, you have to be coy about it. You have to be, slick about it, right? This is the way I do it. I have great advice to meat eaters, right? If you want to make that burger taste better, well, think about it like this. If you eat a burger every day, the burger is not gonna but if you wait 2 weeks to eat a burger, that will be the best tasting burger you've ever eaten, right? So if you eat meat every day, so this is just my way of trying to convince meat eaters to eat less meat. So for the vegans who think that they're gonna take a meat eater and convert them from a meat eater to a vegan, how in your right mind you think that's gonna happen overnight? It's not gonna happen overnight. You're not gonna take a meat eater and then within 1 second, within one minute, make them into a vegan. That's not even, it's not, their body won't even handle the change. You have to do it gradually. You have to take a meat eater, turn them into a vegetarian slowly, and then turn them into a vegan. That's the way you do it. So all of these crazy vegans running around screaming at meat eaters, this is what you do. You say to a meat eater, you say, look, you want to know how you make that burger taste better? I'll tell you something. If you eat meat every day, the meat will not it get boring. It will get boring and dull. It won't taste as good. But I'll tell you what, I swear, just try it. If you go 2 weeks without eating a burger, you can have a burger, but after 2 weeks. If you go 2 weeks without eating a burger, I swear that burger will be the best burger you've ever tasted. Because gonna be craving the meat. You're gonna go 2 weeks without meat. You're gonna be craving it, And then the next thing you know, you have a burger. And here's the thing. You're gonna say, oh well, how did they suddenly become less meat eaters? Because they went 2 weeks without eating meat. That's pretty good. I made more progress with a meat eater than a vegan, whatever. Like a vegetarian makes more progress converting a meat eater to vegetarian than a friggin' vegan who just screams at everyone. Because my strategy, it actually makes sense. And it does make the burger taste better. It does. I swear. If a meat eater goes 2 weeks without eating any meat, and they reward themselves with a burger after 2 weeks, that will be the best tasting burger they have ever had. It will taste amazing because for 2 weeks their body was craving the meat, right? If you eat when you're not hungry, the food doesn't taste good, right? If you eat when you're not hungry, the food doesn't taste good. But if you eat only when you're really hungry, like if you only, and especially if you put off on meat, if you hold on on eating a burger for 2 weeks and savor that burger, suddenly it will taste so much better. So that's how you make your burgers taste better. You eat less of them. If you eat less burgers, the burgers will taste better. Anyways, this wasn't a speech trying to, but I'm just telling you, it's true. Okay? So all you American meat eaters, I'm telling you, if you eat less burgers, the burgers will taste better. If you eat burgers every day, you're gonna get sick of it. As for any meat, if you eat meat every day, you're gonna get sick of meat. The meat will not taste good anymore. But if you actually eat less meat and savor the meat and then have it like once every 2 weeks, that meat will taste so much better. It's going to be the best meal you think you've ever had until you eventually go out to vegetarian and realize, oh my God, the world of vegetarian cooking. Like there's so much delicious vegetarian. Anyways, but I'm more cool. I'm chill. I'm like a chill vegetarian. I'm not like one of those crazy vegans, okay? I'm not like one of those crazy psycho vegans that screams at people. I'm a chill vegetarian. I'm cool. You can hang out with me. I'm a chill vegetarian. You can hang out with me, okay? You could slip in a burger here and there. I don't care. I won't scream at you like a vegan. I'm not like one of those crazy vegans that'll scream at you for slipping in a burger here and there. Anyway. So let's go to comments. Some guy came in and said, have you gone mad? Canada has the largest reserves of oil. You need a map. Yeah, don't tell the Americans we have oil or they're gonna invade us. Hey JJ, what you doing? You gotta keep it a secret. Don't tell the Americans we have oil. If you tell the Americans Canada has oil, then Americans will invade us for oil. And especially don't tell the Americans that we have guns, that Canada has weapons. Well, I don't have guns. But Canada has weapons, obviously. Canada, the Canadian police have guns. Canadian people don't have guns. The Canadian citizens, we don't have guns, really. We don't have guns at all, actually. Canadian citizens don't have guns, but the Canadian police have guns. And that's how it is in Canada. The Canadian only the really only like only a person only if a Canadian has like a special permit, if they're a hunter, like in very rare circumstances would an average Canadian have an armed be armed. But most Canadians, like the typical usual Canadian, do not have guns. Only the Canadian police have guns. So Canada has oil. Canada does have weapons to defend themselves, and Canada don't tell the Americans that Canada's real number one ally is China. Those are three things to not tell the Americans. Don't tell the Americans we have oil in Canada. Don't tell the Americans Canadians have oil. Don't tell the Americans that Canadians have weapons to defend themselves. And don't tell the Americans that Canada's real number one ally is actually China. So let's go back to comments. Thomas Micah came in and said, how do you tax people so they are protected from volcanoes? tornadoes. I'm not into taxes. I believe that taxes should be lower. I think taxes are theft. I think a lot of these governments, they do high taxes to rob people. I think that it's important to let people know about volcanoes and the dangers. Let people know about tornadoes, inform people about other dangerous things in the United States. Eminem or MM, not sure how to say your name. Guy came in and said, sorry, too many topics here, and you could have done your research and you know it's a man, and in Europe, we don't have this race difference like you do in America. I didn't deny the fact that I actually said that Candace Owens, she's very convincing. I actually believe her. I said I don't know for sure, but I did say already that I do actually believe Candace Owens. I do believe that she is determined to expose the French president and the wife for some reason. She's on them. She is on them. You know, like there's so many people around the world that have scandals. I mean, Britain, uh, Germany, Italy, Poland, Sweden, Switzerland, France, Australia. There's so many scandals around the world that she could be pursuing. I mean, have you noticed how the Australians, how they talk? Like, and have you noticed how the Australians are like very family oriented? Like, did you, like one time, I swear to God, I saw these two Australians and I could swear they were brother and sister. I could swear. They looked like they were brother and sister. They were doing something else, but the two Australians, they look like they're brother and sister. So clearly, there's issues in the world. There are severe, especially in Australia, especially with those Australians. Like there's issues in Australia. They not just taxes. I'm not just talking about high taxes. I'm not just talking about crime. I'm not just talking about like Australians. They're very. Let's just say that Australian brothers are very close to their Australian sisters. Okay, Australian. Anyways, Australians. So, anyways, Candace Owens, she could be spending her time, I mean, looking into so many rabbit holes. There's so many rabbit holes around the world. Like there's so many things that Candace Owens could be researching right now. So many scandals, especially a lot of Canadian scandals, which we handed to Candace Owens. A lot of Canadian journalists, a lot of Canadian news people, a lot of Canadian spies, a lot of Canadian people tried handing over Candace Owens a bunch of dirt on Canada. But Candace Owens is not really pursuing Canada. She's not really pursuing Australia. She's not really pursuing Germany. Candace Owens is fixated on the French president and the French president's wife. So maybe that actually means that there's more to the story that's going to come out that we're not even aware of. Like maybe Candace Owens knows even more about the French president and the wife that has yet to be released. And sure enough, this week, Candace Owens, after going dark for a week, she's been away for a week. She announced that for a whole week, she's going to be whatever. She's not going to be doing any podcasts for a week. So she was this whole last week. Last week, Candace Owens wasn't doing any videos, no podcasts. She was on vacation, probably somewhere. Anyways, what I don't know the exact reason, but I do know that Candace Owens, she did say that for some reason, for a whole week, she wouldn't be doing any videos, and she didn't do any videos last week. So apparently she's supposed to be coming back this week, Candace Owens, and probably after Labor Day, of course, tomorrow, Tuesday, or today. It's actually in the morning now. And Candace Owens will be giving us apparently new information on the French president and the French president's wife. So finally, maybe actually there really is a lot more to the story. Maybe Candace Owens will explain that this is not just a scandal of involving a transgender. This is an even bigger scandal. This rabbit hole runs even deeper. So you guys got to watch tomorrow when Candace Owens does her podcast or whatever, her live stream show, her YouTube show. You got to watch tomorrow when Candace Owens does her YouTube show, because I have a feeling that there's more going on in France that we realize, that the French people are involved in an even bigger scandal than we even realized. Who knows what it's going to be? Maybe it'll be organ harvesting. Maybe it'll be organ harvesting. I don't know. Who knows what it's going to be? It could be clothing, fashion scandal, or organ harvesting. It could be something to do with education, like an education scandal in France, or organ harvesting. It could be, there's so many things that could, so many scandals that could be going on in France right now that we're not aware of, right? Like, for example, uh, maybe a bunch of French people were born with tails. I don't know. Anyways, it's probably got something to do with organ harvesting because they've been doing a lot of organ harvesting lately. But tomorrow, we will find out new information. Apparently, Candace Owens is coming out with new information with regards to the whole Bridget scandal, French scandal, French president scandal, French president's wife scandal, etc. We're finding out new stuff tomorrow.